All right. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, What's New with Robot? Thanks for joining us. It's time for a recap of all things new in the robot product line in 2020. And whether you're a 30-year veteran or somebody who's brand new to the robot product line, you should get some good value out of the time you spend with us today. So my name is Chuck Losinski, and I'm the Director of Technical Solutions here at HelpSystems, and I'm joined today by a number of our IBMI experts and mentors and developers, et cetera, that have been in this field for a few years. And let's start with Randy. Good morning, Randy.
Hey, good morning, Tom, Chuck, and Armand.
Tom?
All right, Tom Huntington here.
Yeah,
good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Good to be with you. I know we have some customers from all over the world with us today. Tom Huntington, longtime robot user even. I started using Robot Schedule back on the System 38 days. So my first job at HelpSystems was to bring Robot Schedule and a few other System 38 products over to the AS400 platform. Been here ever since and really enjoy every day. And that's because I get to work with great colleagues like you guys.
Yeah, but it blossomed into a whole product line and a number of product lines now. And we'd like to introduce a new member of our panel today who's not new to HelpSystems, Armand Cohen. Armand, do you want to introduce yourself and give us a little bit of your background?
Thanks very much. Yep. Like Tom started on the System 38 maybe in 1980-ish, something like that.
Yep.
Worked with Tom for a long time here. Tom hired me, and I'm grateful for that. I'm the development manager here for a bunch of the robot products. The IBM partnership, which includes BRMS, Power HA, and RDI, as well as a PowerTech product as well. So, yep, it's a long journey, and that journey is continuing on, and I'm happy about that on the IBMI.
Thanks for spending some time with us. Yeah,
we're really happy to have you. It was one of my best hires, I have to say. Next to Chuck.
Thanks.
Nobody else is listening,
okay.
Right?
Well, for everybody listening, this is going to be about a 45-minute webinar. We are recording. You'll get a follow-up email with a link to the recording along with some additional collateral. And we're going to turn our cameras off. We're going to save some bandwidth out there on the World Wide Web, and we're going to jump into the robot portfolio. Tom.
All right, thank you, Chuck. You know, if you've been watching this, you know, it's interesting, Chuck, you said that, you know, the robot product line expanded. And quite honestly, you know, Armand and I were there in the early days, and we took a look at the mainframe environment, the MVS, OS390, whatever you want to call it, the Z series, and looked at all the automation tools that were over there and really expanded the robot products from what was Robot Schedule and AutoTune back in the days to everything that we see here. Plus now over the years, we've added a few acquisitions. You know, Robot Schedule is not just an IBMI scheduler, certainly can reach out and do Windows and Unix and Linux-based scheduling with Robot Schedule Enterprise. We still continue to monitor QSys Opera and other critical resources with Robot Council, Network Alert. We've gotten into high availability. We also do tape management, backup recovery with Robot Save, and then of course Armand mentioned some of the IBM properties too. We work on BRMS and Power HA for IBM too in that space. And then very popular product this last year has been Robot Monitor for helping to monitor the disk space on the system. If you're struggling with IFS management, I highly recommend Robot Space. And just earlier this week, I was working with a customer on Robot AutoTune. They had 60 memory pools on one system, and a bunch of them were user-defined memory pools. So they needed help with tuning and adjusting memory. So still some use going out there. And then we added in MPG and the Performance Navigator product for sizing, capacity, reporting. And we'll talk a little bit later about some other things we can do with the PM400 technology. And then another mainstay is robot reports for managing report output. A lot going on in the robot family today.
Yep, and that brings us, Tom, to our first polling question. The question is, which category of robot product do you use on your system? All right, are you
select all that apply, right?
Yep, you can select all of them if you'd like. your robot reports client, monitoring, DR, space performance type monitoring. All right, thanks for answering. Give you about 10 more seconds to answer those. Very
hard to believe. Yeah.
interesting.
Just yesterday, we were planning what we're going to do for webinars in 2021. So if you have some ideas of things you'd like us to bring to the webinar forefront as we are all staying virtual for a time period into 2021, I would suspect at least the second half of the year we'll get out and do some traveling probably, but first half of the year for sure we'll be doing a lot of virtual events. So always looking for ideas for webinars. Well, let's take a look at our results, Chuck. What do we got?
All right, here we go. Well, we definitely have scheduling as number one, and that's not unusual. Console monitoring, robot save a little bit lower, space and performance monitoring with robot monitor, performance navigator, that's ever popular, and look at robot reports.
Wow, good to know.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, let's hide that.
And we're just going to have you run the slide deck today, right, Chuck? So.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Okay, here's what our agenda looks like. We're going to take a quick look at all our major robot updates, and we're going to dive into some of the details. We're going to talk about acquisitions. We'll dive into HelpSystems Insite. We got some news there for you. Tom's going to talk about robot HA. We'll bounce back into robot monitor and performance navigator. And then Armand's going to talk a little bit about RBTSYSLIB, and then we'll finish up with robot save. All right.
Awesome.
So, Tom.
Right. So Robot HA, a newer product to the robot family, not the newest, of course, but we've been promoting Robot HA now for 5 years, believe it or not. And this last year, we've worked us out to version 13 that shipped out in July. We'll talk about some of the new panels just from, ease of use is one of the things that we're really tackling with the product. So new panels in the product, new dashboards that have been added into Insite, which as we talk about that will become HelpSystems 1 in 2021 as we talk about that. And then also remind you about the MIMIX transition. Back to you, Chuck, talk about Robot Monitor.
Yeah, major release of Robot Monitor earlier this year. We added Power Linux support. So you'll see that in a live demo today, a couple flavors or distros of Linux. If you like the dashboards in Robot Monitor, we now have a dashboard slideshow, basically a rotating slideshow. If you're monitoring jobs for any particular status, you can actually answer an inquiry message inside of Robot Monitor, better MIMIX monitoring in the product, and so forth. So we got quite a bit going on in Robot Monitor, and you'll see some of that live today. We've also released in Robot Save FlashCopy integration. We'll talk a little bit more about what FlashCopy is and the integration that's included with the tool. And Tom, there's a common theme here going on with our Insite technology, which we'll talk about the new branding coming out in 2021. But the mobile or web-based interface for Robot Console became available. And we also improved the resource monitoring. We have a 1-minute increment on that. And then Armand, we're going to talk a little bit about IASP. And so Robot Alert is now supported in the IASP.
That's right. Early this year, we now made Robot Alert IASP installable, and along with other products, and also made it Office 365 compatible too, so you can use that along with Robot Alert. We'll definitely talk about IASP later in the program.
All right, Randy, you want to talk a little bit about Performance Navigator?
Yeah, well, we just recently came out with 19.2, and we will talk about some of the features in that new release, and make sure that the customers are out there, the potential customer, make sure you should be on the latest release. We always encourage that, and we'll show you some of the quick demo of some of these new features and how they work. And of course, part of that is, as some of you might know, the PM400 service from IBM was discontinued, and obviously Performance Navigator is an excellent replacement for what it was doing, plus many other things.
Good
Yep,
deal.
and then a few other miscellaneous. Armand, the
Yep.
RBT sleeper
Yeah,
enhancement.
that's definitely a big one. Now you don't have to bring down Sleeper in order to do updates. You have a choice in that matter. We've got a slide a little bit later for that. And then with Robot GUI, the next one down, using TLS 1.2. So we're good there.
All right, and finally, we'll do a little demo of robot reports in Insite as well. So if you're using the RBI, robot browser interface, we now have a replacement in our Insite technology. Tom.
Well, Chuck, I'm here to talk about the acquisitions that we did in 2020. Despite COVID and all those kinds of things, and we've been very busy this year in the acquisition front. The first one, ClearSwift, started in December of 2019 and carried into 2020, but a UK-based company doing data loss prevention. What they really do is they interact with your email on-prem or in the cloud and do redaction and sanitation of sensitive data and documents that contain sensitive information via email, so they can help you in securing that information going in and out of the organization. Cobalt Strike joined us in March of 2020, just as the pandemic hit. They are pen testing software, or some people might refer to it as ethical hacking software. And then Titus and Bolden James, two companies in June, both in the unstructured data classification. So when we think of IBMI, we think of DB2, and that's structured data, obviously, it's a database. But also we think of IBMI, we think of IFS, and that's unstructured data, so documents and PDFs. So technically, this technology could reach out to IBMI documents and help with classifying and really, protecting sensitive data, again, as electronic data and copyrights and proprietary information is what it's all about, and protecting that. And then the last acquisition was GlobalScape, managed file transfer, technically a competitor of the Go Anywhere product that we have, but we will keep both products going in the marketplace. That happened here in August. Nothing new since then, but if you look at these five, they're all non-IBMI technologies really in their core. They do certainly reach out to IBMI when it comes to pen testing and data classification, et cetera. So happy to have all these with us, Chuck. Back to you, and certainly we'll take any questions about these as we go forward. So this is,
yeah, absolutely.
We've done 30 acquisitions already to date.
Yeah, it's fun keeping up with all the various technologies. Our IBMI business keeps growing, and obviously outside of IBMI, it's growing as well. So what we'd like to do for a couple minutes here is talk about this thing called HelpSystems Insight, and specifically we're going to talk about Robot Console and Robot Reports. But if you've been exposed to this technology at all, we've been talking about it quite a bit over the last I'd say 5, almost 6 years now, is our browser technology for a number of our products. This technology actually started with Robot Schedule. This was our browser-based access to Robot Schedule, and also our mobile access to Robot Schedule. And the idea was that this technology is being used by HelpSystems to consolidate the user interface across multiple brands and products and product lines, both IBMI and non-IBMI. Today, we're going to specifically talk about Robot Console and Reports, but for instance, Robot Network and Robot Schedule are also part of this technology. The technology is going to be rebranded either in, Tom, you might know, in December, January, it's going to be rebranded as HelpSystems One. So you're going to see a little bit of change.
Early January, you'll start seeing rumblings of HelpSystems One. Technically, it's Insite.
Yeah, and currently the technology is supported on Windows or Linux, and it reaches back to your IBMI partitions and pulls that information in. In 2021, we are planning on supporting the HTTP server directly on IBMI native. So that's exciting news. As far as Robot Console and Robot Reports goes, so first, Robot Console is supported in Insite in the form of message centers and resource monitoring status. So if you're using those technologies, you can now see actually multiple partitions messages inside of Insite. You can reply to those messages, and of course you can fire it up, for instance, on your iPhone or Android phone and respond to messages and look at resource statuses there. And likewise for robot reports now, you can see the latest copy of your report, the archived versions, and you can restore reports directly from this interface. So let's do a little demonstration. All right, so this is Chrome in this case, could be any browser, and I'm going to authenticate myself, and I'm actually going to authenticate myself back to an IBMI. Could go with LDAP authentication. And in my case, my default product that I'm being sent to, so to speak, in Insite is Robot Reports. So over here on the left-hand side is your menu system, and you can see we've got a number of products directly embedded in the product. So we've got Robot Reports, Robot Schedule, Robot Console, but also we've got things like Intermapper or Automate, our RPA technology. All right, so this is a cross-brand, cross-platform consolidation tool. And so just for instance, in Robot Reports, if I want to view, let's say, the latest version of my my backup report, all right, I simply say View Report, and it brings back that data, all right, to the browser, and I can download that as well. All right, similar technology to our RBI technology, download as PDF or text. And if you've got Robot Reports on multiple partitions, I can select a different partition name. For instance, let's go to my Wisdom partition. And you can see I've got a lot of reports there. And if I'm interested in looking at an older version of one of my reports, I can do that. All right, I've got reports going back quite a ways. In fact, some of these are in what's called short-term archives, so they've actually been compressed into a save file. And I do have the ability to restore the report. So what it's doing now is it's doing a live restore of that data. Now, keep in mind, this is browser technology, so I could have multiple tabs going on to multiple dashboards and multiple products in Insite. But here, let's just take a look at this report. Now, this is from November 23rd. This is my Robot Save audit report. All right, so great place to go to find those reports. The other thing is dashboard technology is supported in Insite, so I can take information from multiple products, both Robot, PowerTech, and for instance, Automate, Go Anywhere, etc., and bring all that data into a single dashboard. All right, so what you're seeing here now is a dashboard that consists of a Robot Console messages, Robot Console resource status, Robot Network, PowerTech Exit Point Manager, PowerTech encryption, number of encryption activities here in the last 24 hours, password self-help, that'll update here in just a second, Authority Broker, another PowerTech tool, and Robot Schedule activity. So just for instance, here in my Robot Console messages, if there was an inquiry message that I needed to reply to somewhere in here, I could easily go and simply click on the reply button. I could even drill into, for instance, the job log of the job that created the message. All right, and the last thing I'm going to mention, Tom, because I know you're going to bring it up if I don't, is what's called our deployment manager. Okay, this is cool stuff. So what this does is this looks at all your PowerTech, Robot, and SQL products that you have installed in your environment, and it tells you where you might need to update those products. For instance, PowerTech Authority Broker, I have it installed 6 places, and it apparently has 6 updates. In other words, every single one of those partitions needs to be updated. All right, so I can literally select multiple partitions to send an update to. All right, the update will download from our AWS account, it gets sent to the partitions, and then you can run the update live, or you can also stage the update now. All right.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I wasn't going to talk about that, so I'm glad you did.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So
All
Chuck,
right.
I'm going to just take over presenter control now, and I'll bring up my PowerPoint slide. And does that sound okay?
Yeah, sounds good.
I got to make sure it shows the right clean screen here. All right. So you should see my screen now. Robot HA, data replication and high availability. As you know, we put out the IBM I Marketplace study. We've been doing that now for 6 years, 6 full years, and we're on our 7th year now. Look for a webinar on January 14th, 2021. Yes, next year. Let's get out of 2020. And we'll be with IBM and a few other industry leaders talking about the results from this past September that you all took place and answered. So, but from last year, high availability was the #2 item on the list, and we see that right here, high availability. So why would that be on everybody's mind in 2020? Certainly was really last fall. Maybe things changed a little bit as we've gone through the year here, but still, I think high availability is always on everybody's mind. You're looking for better, easier solutions out there. And so we did work on, Armand's team did work on Robot HA for us this last year. Version 13 came out. We added this new sync attributes panel, which I'll show you. We've also have a MIMIX transition in the product and Insite dashboard. So it's kind of interesting to hear Armand talk about monitoring MIMIX. Well, certainly we do that with Robot Monitor too, but we also can transition. So the transition, we call it a transition is because we realized how important HA is to you. And so you can load the product alongside another HA product, not only MIMIX, but any product, and our support team will help you, or our services team will help you out. You just can't replicate the same thing when you're doing this. So if you got a library defined and running through MIMIX, it's got to stay that way until you put that on hold or end that process and give us over the rules. We recommend you print out the current rules with the transition. We move the rules over one at a time, switch them over to Robot HA, and then slowly move the rest over, and then 100% switch over to Robot HA. That's kind of the transition process. And then of course we can set up monitoring. We have built-in auditing and notification within the product, and we use Robot or the Halcyon solution to be able to monitor it. So inside Robot HA is a MIMIX transition menu. I just kind of went through those steps with you, 1 through 5 to print, to extract, transition, and then start the sync transition. We are a different product. We don't have the concepts of data groups. In our product, we define libraries in IFS. You can group libraries. So you're going to switch over. You have to have a little bit of an open mind because it is a different product. Inside of Robot HA, we also improved the green screen interface to give you a more easier screen to follow and see more information about what's happening and what are the rules in Robot HA. I'm going to show that live, so we'll do that again. And then also we've added in version 13 the ability to do dashboards over the Robot HA information and show you status of the product. As we can see here, we have a library that's in air. And then we have, what library it is, and then we have our status of our systems, and then any kind of audit statuses that we might see. So those are some things that are in the dashboard. So now if we do live demo here, let me get rid of that. This is live. This is Insite. Again, Insite's going to become HelpSystems 1. It's more than just a rename. We're redoing the infrastructure underneath Insite. For a couple of reasons. One, we want to get Insite to be running natively on IBM I, and you will see that in 2021. I'm not sure exactly the delivery date on that. We'll put Armand up against the wall and ask him later on that, but I'm just kidding. So this Robot HA dashboard that I have is just for Robot HA, but certainly as Chuck showed, you could have Robot Schedule on here, Robot Console. We're showing that we have one air. If I drill on that, it'll tell me the library that's in air right now. We can't go into the rest of the rules, so we'd switch over to the green screen to actually work with the air, but the idea behind this is that quick glance dashboard to show you how your operation's doing. You could have just this with the status of Robot Schedule for forecasting. Then we also can see, I also took the liberty to pull in some of the SQL services. If you've been following IBM Rochester and Scott Fortsey and a few other people, Tim Rowe, they've been talking a lot about SQL services. You can use those SQL services in Insite Analytics, which is what we built with this. And that's just a free query tool that kind of comes with it. You'll see it right here, Insite Analytics. Think of it as a query tool that comes with Insite or HelpSystems 1 as we roll into next year. So enough on the dashboard. Let's bring up the wonderful green screen. So how do we get to Robot HA? Many of you are familiar with RBO, option 25, Robot HA, kind of a standard looking HelpSystems product. We can see we're on a production system. We have production and backup. If I go into my synchronization attributes, this is what's been enhanced. We'll see that same libraries in hold. What I did is I went over to the target and held the apply job over there, so it's backing up with transactions. But from here, we can see a lot of great information. What's the name of the library we're replicating? What server are we going to? What's the to library? Doesn't have to be the same, so you got some flexibility. We can see whether or not we're including or excluding or omitting rather objects, and then we can also see that journaling information over here. When was the last time it was synced, and are there any errors? We're currently in error. If I take a look at the status here and drill into this a little further, we'll see that right now we're 145,000 records behind, and again, it's because for demo purposes today, I held my apply side job. Now I have a toggle in here. I can do F11. Now I can see my IFS information. I can do F11 again. I can group libraries together and replicate a group of libraries if they're sharing. You got logicals and physical files in different libraries. You might want to run them through the same journal. You can do that kind of thing. And then also system. One of the things that we do is we replicate authorization lists, but then all those configuration things that give you headaches when you do a role swap and you forget about network attributes and system values and all that. We're replicating that for you too, and we can see when the last time we did that, 7:30. These are interval oriented. If I wanted to, I could force that process to run right now like I just did. And then down to the bottom here, user profiles. We can see all that. So really nice to be able to see what the journal is that we're using for the various information that we're grabbing out of Robot HA. Chuck, the last topic was role swaps. We do role swaps, and with our product, you role swap from the production side, and then you role swap the target side, and anywhere from 5 minutes to 30 minutes is kind of a typical role swap. Depends upon the size of the system. We have the ability for you to have your own role swap script involved with it. Everybody has something they need to shut down and before they do the role swap, but this is how we can do a role swap interactively, or we can run that in batch. Most of the time we run it interactively from the console on IBMI. So I think back over to you, Chuck, to take us through the next few topics.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
All right.
We see your robot monitor screen right now. It's
all
live.
Right. Yep. All right. I had jumped ahead a little bit. We are going to do this for about 60 seconds or less. We want your input. Food for thought. What technology should HelpSystems be focused on? So we're looking for your input. Of course, we're always doing planning, looking into the future. Some examples, IBMI web service monitoring, SAN storage monitoring, more IASP support across our product lines, build more browser interfaces, maybe offer a change management solution. That seems to be coming up. And Tom, I remember talking to a number of customers before we had a managed file transfer solution go anywhere in our product line, and that was a common request. And we were able to satisfy that.
It's very true. Yeah, through the Lenoma acquisition. Gosh, that's been 4 years already.
Yes.
Yeah.
So send in through the Q&A.
Like
send in any kind of input. Yep.
Yeah. Build more browser interfaces. You hear that, Armand? It's kind of funny because I had a discussion with somebody. Could you do this? Could you do that to your GUI? And I'm like, really? In today's world, we are working more towards browser type interfaces as much as possible.
Yeah.
It's almost, to me, it's almost either leave it in the green screen because you can access a green screen from anywhere. GUIs are problematic. We have some customers that have never, ever been able to use our graphical interfaces because their Windows team won't allow them to install non-standard GUIs, right? That may be you listening today. I'm sorry to hear that. It's just, yeah, we definitely want to work more towards that. Look like we're getting a little feedback on SAN. This is something you can continue to feed us throughout today's webinar. So Chuck, why don't we move on and get you back over to Robot Monitor?
All right, let's talk about the major update to Robot Monitor that took place in May 14.2 of Robot Monitor. We shipped Power Linux support. We also offer a dashboard slideshow. I'm going to show you actually in a live demo how you can respond to an inquiry message right through the graphical interface. So if you drill down and you got a job waiting on a message, you can just respond to it there. We made our MIMIX monitoring setup even easier. And the next bullet on the list is Performance Navigator installed automatically. So that is an option on the install now where you can check a box. And Performance Navigator, we talk about that as being our forensic reporting tool, our capacity planning tool, and Robot Monitor being the real-time notification tool. So they work well together. We also added some other metrics to the product along with some an auto hide feature. So if you were used to that in the previous version of this tool, that is now offered again in the product. So let's jump into a live demo. This is a system view of a single partition called Wisdom. And the first thing I want to show you is I'm just going to drill down into my batch activity. So I've created a monitor that looks at total CPU for batch, and any of this I can drill into, and I can likewise drill into the job if the job is active, and you can see right here I can send a reply to that. All right, so that was one of the changes. Another change is over here in my system view, I have a couple of systems called Bell and Banks. So I've got a Red Hat Power Linux, and I've got a SUSE Power Linux or Power Linux as well. So much the same as monitoring IBMI. We're talking about monitoring CPU, disk storage, and so forth. But Linux uses memory a little different than IBMI does. So as far as swap space and memory use, those metrics are going to look a little bit different. All right, in Robot Monitor versus IBMI. This is single system views, all right, and I can drill into any of this, but you could also, for instance, look at this in terms of a dashboard, all right? So let's look at, for instance, a Linux dashboard that also includes IBMI, all right? So that's the beauty of the dashboard technology, is that I can combine platforms, I can combine metrics, I can combine short-term data along with real-time data, and I can drill into that as well. So for instance, if you're more interested in storage, if storage is your thing, all right, so here's a dashboard that's strictly devoted to storage. If you're interested in a whole bunch of metrics for all your systems, okay, you can see we've got some issues here, all right, they stand out pretty well. So you can create as many dashboards as you want, and then with the latest iteration of the product, we have our dashboard slideshow. All right, it looks like this. All right, basically it goes full screen and it navigates through whatever dashboards you want. So you pick the dashboards that you want to navigate through, and it spends a few seconds on each of those dashboards. You tell us how much time you want to spend on each of the dashboards, and it's going to cycle through. All right, so here we've got Power HA monitoring, that's built in as well.
Very cool.
All right, and we're going to cycle through one more. All right.
Your crowd is going crazy. Wow.
All right, last thing I want to show real quick is MIMIX monitoring. The built-in MIMIX monitoring that we have, we've made that a little bit easier. So you can see here, if you use MIMIX in your shop, we've got a lot of different MIMIX monitoring that you can set up in the tool as well. All right, and with that, we're going to turn it over now to Randy and Performance Navigator.
All right, thanks, Chuck. Yeah, there's been several updates that we'll come out with, one in May, and then we had another one in July. So as we sort of talked about at the front end of the conference here, it's a never-ending task. Armand is never going to have an empty list of things to do. So just in changing in the technology, we constantly have to improve the product. So the current version, by the way, is 19.2a. on both the client and the host side, and it's 19.2 something on the AIX and Linux side. For those who are customers, you can go to the customer portal and download the latest. We certainly encourage you to do that. So in May, if you back up real quick, did we go to one? Yeah, there we go. So what we added an enterprise reporting dashboard, which for those who maybe feel, Performance Navigator is really used by most of our customers is management reporting, and this basically automates a dashboard. In other words, generates a bunch of HTMLs, and I'll give you a brief demo of that. You can certainly customize these dashboards with logos and colors and so forth. Of course, we spend a lot of time in the what if capacity planning area, and of course, it's constant changing technology. So in May, we had to add support for NVMe and the new G models that were announced. We added some graphs to talk about how much of your CPU is being used by SQL. Weight bucket analysis. So in other words, getting into job analysis, we've now are graphing all 30 plus buckets of weight buckets that easily, with point and click, you can actually get to any one of these jobs because it is being collected by collection services, right? And of course, it's important nowadays with disk to drill even down to separate the response time, into a read and write response time. So that's what we did in May. So in November, we came out with 19.2a, and like I said, that is the latest. So on the AIX and Linux side of things, we got the latest Inmon. Of course, that's what we do. We automate the collection of historical Inmon data. So the latest tar.gz file has the latest version of Inmon. Of course, we constantly monitor when that gets updated, and we come out with a new release when that happens. We constantly try to improve the space that we keep for historical, and we pretty well, I'm going to say, reduce that by probably in the range of 25%. It was already, I won't say nothing, but 3 or 4 gig, but now it's even less than that. So we've improved that. We also include, which most people may not know, something called Inmon Chart, which is, when we included the latest version of that, that is the ability to, it's a Google chart function that we automatically, it's an open source product that we actually include and run so that you don't have to worry about configuring it and downloading it and so forth. So that's part of the AIX stuff. On the IBM host stuff, we, for the first time, for those who are customers on the phone, we have this, the automation process, what we call report sets. Well, in 19.2a, we are now distributing report sets that sort of replace what you might have been used to from the PM400. And I'll briefly show you that in the demo. And again, some of you may not know that we do have things like a daily help check and a monthly summary. And of course, both of those support across the platforms like IBM I or AIX and Linux and so forth. And in the last couple of months, we've created several new graphs in order to support the new dynamic capacity. Of course, again, we do a lot of capacity planning. And this technically is the what's called PEP2, which is the Power Enterprise Pools 2 analysis. And this is basically technology used by IBM to charge on a monthly basis and basically lower the cost of, you're basically moving the cost from OpEx to CapEx to OpEx, right? So, and we can look at what the HMC thinks is you're using your cores on a frame basis too. So, and again, in the what if, we'll show you a little bit about a what if. So let me, I am going to make myself the presenter. Oh, he already did. Thank you, Chuck. And I'm going to show my screen now. And hopefully everybody can see that screen. Looks like you can.
Got it.
Oh, yep. So this is a PEP2 analysis. I wanted to start here because basically with the Power Enterprise Pools 2, the idea in a very high level is you're going to lower the number of IBM I licenses or AIX licenses that you have on a machine. And then you're going to pay on a monthly basis based on how many minutes you're actually paying by the minute. But you know, there is a cost for minutes. So for example, for IBM I, it's $240 for a credit, and for an IBM I credit, it's 2,000 minutes. So what we're trying to do here is help you figure out what those base licenses are. And so you can see on this machine, and I think this serial number, which is one of ours in HelpSystems, has 78 partitions on it. And you can see right here what we're doing. We just started collecting in October. Let's look at November. So you can see right there in November, there was a little over, these were thousands, by the way. So this is how many minutes over one core, right? So it's think of it as core minutes. So we're trying to figure out how many minutes over one core or two cores or three cores, so forth, that you're using by operating system. So you can figure out if I'm going to go to the PEP2 analysis or the PEP2 process, how many base licenses I need for IBM I and AIX. So these are obviously, most of those partitions are going to be AIX or Linux on this machine. So, and by the way, all you need is one IBM I partition, because this actually, you know, I get the whole frame by looking at this one IBM I partition. One of the other things, and by the way, where you get to this is to CPU, and you can go down here to frame, and you can go to PEP2 analysis. But the other thing you can do is look at cores used, and it's sort of the same file, and it's for the whole machine, by the way. So I'm going to drill down at the date level, and as you can see, this is the IBM I cores that were used on this frame, and the red are the non-IBM cores used on this frame. So even if you just have one partition of IBM I, you can actually look at the whole frame regardless of whether there's, of course, I know this has a lot, you know, it has two BIOS partitions, it has AIX and has Linux and so forth. So there's you know, a lot of the PEP2 analysis and frame that we had to add to the product to take advantage of that the technology if needed to. I wanted to show you an example of a health check, just because most people may not know this is available. This is like a daily health check. And as you can see, it's all HTML driven. So, and you can actually save this. Most of our customers are going to save this to a shared drive or a web server of some sort that you can save this to. And this gives you basically, you know, your average CPU and peak and so forth. And of course, we have guidelines that you can change and modify. And in this case, you can see that we're exceeding best practices on our disk and so forth. So this is a quick example, and all of our HTML sort of has the same look and feel. Did want to touch on one other feature we talked about in the enhancements, and that is the enterprise reporting dashboard. And this is how you configure the dashboard. Remember we talked about branding. This is how you add your company logo and your colors and so forth. This is where you're going to select which reports you're going to put in there. For example, I want a health check on all my LPARs. This is how you do this. You can actually create data centers. If you're a large customer and you have multiple machines and multiple data centers, and you want to look at, you know, your production data center versus your HA data center. Once you configure this, you basically run and create the framework. And again, this can be stored anywhere. If we have any MSPs on the line, there's a switch. By default, you don't see these options down here, but there is a switch to turn on if you're an MSP. So MSPs can actually add customer logos and customer colors and looking at just their LPARs and so forth. So it really is this is the configuration process. And if you want to view it, I'll just come over here to view enterprise reporting dashboard, and I'll just kind of give you an example. You know, here we got one frame, that's the frame, and there's the partition. If you had multiple partitions, you'd see all the partitions. If I click on this, I don't have any reports configured, but this is what that's really telling you. No reports have been set up. But if you had a health check or a monthly report, there'd be a link here that you could go view. And you can look at data center, for example. So there's data center 1, data center 2. There's all the LPARs or systems on those data centers. So this kind of gives you an idea of what the dashboard would look like. In the what if, the major change here is if I go to what if and new, you will see that the G models are in there, and you'll see also a PEP2 analysis button. Again, we do a lot of this by services, so you can it's reading. I didn't select the peak day, so you can see it's going to read about 30 days here or more here in a second. You're going to see the graph come up. And you can see here that this is a Power 9 already, but over here in the all par section, you can see a PEP2 analysis. And we sort of do the same thing, except this says, well, how much data is over 1 core, 2 core, 3 core, and so forth. If you go to model selection now, if you get the latest version, you know, if you select, let's say 914, or in this case, 924. Now this is an A model, but you will see the new G models here. And H models, by the way, which, you know, is HANA, and but you'll see all the new models in here. So that's a real quick rundown, Chuck, of some of the features that are in the latest version 19.2a. And so if you're a customer, encourage you to go download both the client and the host code.
Sounds
Cool
good.
stuff,
Thanks.
Randy. Yeah.
Thanks, Randy. Chuck and I will talk quickly about robot products, some updates and stuff. So as we talked about before, RBTSYSLIB now acts independently. You can update any of your products without updating RBTSYSLIB all by itself. So no forcing end of sleeper and making you do this in a super controlled way. So much easier to use now.
Yeah, that's a fantastic improvement, and I know customers have been using that already. Let's talk quickly about FlashCopy, and I know we've got a lot of customers out there using FlashCopy. And basically, when you do a FlashCopy, and by the way, we have a hour-long educational webinar out on our website that talks all about FlashCopy. We did it in conjunction with IBM. FlashCopy requires IBM SAN storage, and basically when you execute a flash, you're not creating a duplicate copy of your data. What you're doing is you're creating a bitmap. And as the sectors change in your source data, the bitmap updates as well. So when a sector changes, the bitmap changes from 0 to 1, and that data is copied then to the target backup. So in other words, we're keeping track of what sectors have changed in your original non-flash environment, so that we still have that point in time image of what your data looked like. So RBTSave is supporting FlashCopy in the form of basically a copy of the data that gets backed up. What we do is we record everything that gets saved on that target system, and we send that data back to the original source system, back to the original RBTSave instance on the source system. So when the FlashCopy is executed, we then can run the backup on the target system via RBTSave. After the RBTSave is done, even in the restricted state, and it very well likely will be in a restricted state when RBTSave comes back up, it'll send the data back to the original system and record the backup data in RBTSave. So you have a updated database in RBTSave. So that's supported. It was strictly a service. Now it's supported directly in the product. Armand, do you want to talk a little bit about the robot product roadmap?
Definitely. Yep. And that FlashCopy edition was very cool. Yeah. So you saw earlier, the survey has talked about high availability is a growing concern and an issue, and that's where we're headed. As you can see on this roadmap, we'll talk about Schedule Enterprise 3 was released recently. You know, we're getting more and more requests about our products working with an IASP. So we're here to deliver. So Schedule Enterprise 3 a week or two ago was released, and it's IASP compatible. And this is a special day. It's hard to get me to actually tell you when something's going to be released, but this week we're going to release Network 13 IASP compatible. So that's a good deal. So following.
Will make a lot of our HA customers happy, Power HA customers. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's very good. And then hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have some RBT swap sys improvements for HA customers as well. So that will be excellent too. So that's where we're headed. And we're always looking for your comments about what you need. How do we need to improve our products? What's the one thing that you'd have us do to make any of these products better? All right. Thanks, Chuck.
Thanks, Armand. And just a little bit about our educational and professional services. We do free robot health checks. So if you want your robot schedule, console, network, save, etc., you want us to take a look at that, we'd be happy to spend an hour or two with you reviewing that. We do something called an automation assessment. That's also free. We do a free security scan as part of our PowerTech security product line. As Randy mentioned, capacity planning services, and we have a whole bunch of online education. So if you're new to the platform or if you need some product education, we can certainly help you out. Tom, talk to us about a tech update.
Right, you and I have been doing technology updates for probably 5 years. These are individual meetings with our customers where we can have a discussion around your roadmaps and what you're looking for and what's important to you. And then also we'll take you through what's new at HelpSystems. Great meetings for customers that are using a lot of our technology. I really recommend this once a year. Maybe it doesn't have to be a full hour then, maybe just a half an hour or 45 minutes. We'll just update you on what's new from the previous year, but it really personalized to your organization. It's also a great opportunity to bring your manager into the meeting so that they get a feel for who is HelpSystems, what are we doing for you. You know, as you can see, our business has changed quite a bit. We rate today are about 40% IBMI revenue coming in from the market and 60% non-IBMI revenue. So to say that we're just that AS400 company anymore, we really aren't. We love IBMI. We continue to work on IBMI. I think you hear that throughout, but we do also have solutions for other platforms too. And most of us have Windows or Linux alongside of IBMI these days. Off to our last polling question, Chuck. Over to you.
All right, last polling question is, how can we help you? Would you like a free robot health check, high availability discussion, free security scan? Do you need some capacity planning or performance analysis? Or would you like to catch up with Tom or me or one of our staff on a tech update conversation? So we'll leave that up. And in the meantime, are there any questions we need to field?
Yeah, I think there are,
or
Chuck.
Comments?
We got quite a few questions out here. We got some good comments on, you know, technologies to work on. Some people would like to see a demo of HS1, HelpSystems 1, when it's available. So we'll do that as soon as we can. That might be actually something we should consider on our webinar front, Chuck.
Change management would be great.
Yeah. We have does the report give you an overview of all LPARs in one sheet from Patrick? I think he might have been, when Randy was demoing Performance Navigator. So Randy?
I mean, we certainly can look at the entire frame or all the LPARs. So in Performance Navigator, if you're connected to all your LPARs, obviously we can actually show you what each LPAR is doing on the whole frame. I don't know if you
on one sheet.
On
so
one
you
sheet,
can do,
correct.
Yeah, you have the enterprise report, if I remember right?
Correct, yep.
That is
so
one sheet.
Yep, one sheet, yep.
Any plans for new enhancements in the GUIs? I would say directionally our efforts will be on browser for that one, Chuck. What do you think?
Yep. And we're going to be actually meeting on Friday. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. So
yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. You know, just to remind everybody, we're pretty much done for today's webinar, but when you think of HelpSystems, again, on the IBMI side, think of us as a company that can help you with document management, business intelligence, capacity planning, monitoring systems, scheduling systems, automation. I don't think I missed cybersecurity. Of course, I missed cybersecurity out there, but we can help you with pretty much any of those areas. We did have a few requests for change management out there, Chuck, interestingly enough, but we don't do change management.
All right, and we have reserved the last slide of our webinar today for our new guy.
Oh, Chuck, you're too nice. Well, this is Armand. I appreciate everyone joining us today. I want to thank Randy, Chuck, and Tom for sharing all the great info and letting me tag along. Appreciate everyone being here. And even though it's December 2nd, I don't think it's too early to wish you a great 2021.
Yeah, and happy holidays to everyone. Hopefully you get to spend some time with your families, and stay safe out there. Thank you for joining us.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.